Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Developing Email as the Cornerstone of the Customer Journey, with our special guest today, Forrester VP and Principal Analyst Shar VanBoskirk. I'm Megan Tobin, VP of Marketing for Send With Us, and the moderator today. Matt Harris is founder and CEO at Send With Us and his extensive email and product expertise. Good morning, Matt.
Morning, Megan. Hi, everyone.
And we're very pleased today to be joined by Shar VanBoskirk. Shar is a VP and Principal Analyst serving CMO professionals at Forrester. During her 18 years at Forrester, Shar has helped clients create optimal digital marketing teams and programs, leveraging research on email marketing, consumer psychology, storytelling, and digital maturity. Shar, thanks for joining us. I'd like to turn it over to you to start our discussion.
Very good. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Megan. Thank you, Matt. Thank you to Send With Us for inviting me to join today. It's great to have everyone joining from wherever you're joining us this morning or afternoon, depending on where we found you. So we've got a very interesting conversation today to think about not just the current state of how to do email well, but the future of email, and hopefully introducing some ideas that will help you think differently about the medium of email in the way you use it to manage your customer relationships and extend the interaction that you have with them across their life cycle. So I want to start with a little bit of a deliberately provocative slide to just posit the idea that today most email programs fail. The data that you're looking at here is from a report that we do about every 18 months. We have an email review methodology that we use to evaluate the user experience, a range of different emails across industries. We're looking at about 100 emails at a time. And the review methodology grades each email against a number of criteria on a scale that is a 4-point scale ranging from a -2 to a +2. This means that a passing score is a +1. This is if you accomplish some basic capabilities with your email. A +2 is if you go above and beyond and the experience is delightful. So what you're looking at here is the range of scores from the emails that we most recently reviewed. And if you can think through that -2 to +2 scale, you can see that our bell curve is with a lot of companies scoring in the very low positive scores. This means that they are canceling out the good things they're doing with a lot of negative scores in some of the bad things that they're doing. If we go ahead and click on to the next slide, the point in bringing in this data is to represent that email marketing programs aren't improving with time. We have been in this world, many of us going on our second decade, and the reality around how good email programs have become is staying fairly constant. In addition to the notion that email programs fail, the overall consumer data that we track indicates that consumer attitudes toward email aren't a lot better. So the data that you're looking at here comes from Forrester's Consumer Technographics panel, and we've actually tracked this same data since 2004. So even though I'm just showing you here 2012 and 2016, we have a long history of tracking these same attitudinal remarks. And in case you can't read the text or it's a little bit small, what I would just point you to here is that roughly the same percentage of consumers who indicate positive attitudes toward email is consistent over the course of the last 6 years. And likewise, the number of consumers who indicate a negative attitude towards email is showing fairly constant as well. So if we flip on to the next slide, this is what I want to challenge all of us on attending this call today is why are we so satisfied with email's poor performance? We are in a climate where the demands of digital innovation are creating extremely hyper-adoptive consumers, where we believe that we should get new and improved experiences all the time. And the digital experiences that we expect are things as mind-blowing as virtual reality plopping you onto the sideline of a Monday night football game. So why is it okay that email continues as primarily a digital direct mail method when every other digital experience that we have experienced is coming to us with new and exciting programs and innovation. So my theory here, and the notion that I want to argue in the time that I have with you this morning, is that email marketing can actually be so much more. It can be your wedge into customer obsession. And I want to talk about this argument, this theme, by exploring the two different pieces of the theme. So first of all, we're going to talk just briefly about what customer obsession is, so that you can think about the high-level orientation of this strategic recommendation. And then I want to talk a little bit about why email. So what is it about email that can actually give you a wedge into this higher level approach? So Forrester talks about this idea of customer obsession as being a strategy that puts the customer at the center of your total operating model. This is a little bit different than just being customer focused or being customer centric, which are great ideas, but don't account for an entire enterprise-wide strategy. Customer obsession means that the customer is at the center of your entire operating model, not just your service model, not just one team, not just a good, well-researched marketing campaign, but you are making the customer the center of every decision you make about whom to hire, where to open a branch, about the operational partners that you choose, about the technologies that you build or buy. You are thinking always about customer needs when making all of those decisions. We tend to find that companies that are pursuing a customer-obsessed approach have 4 characteristics. And I'm going to present these characteristics in a little bit of a from and to construct. So you can think about maybe what you're doing today and how that might be different in a customer-obsessed experience. So first of all, customer-obsessed companies are customer-led. They are not just customer-aware. Now, I like to think that most of us on the phone, if we've been working in marketing for a while, consider ourselves customer aware. Marketers tend to have a pretty good handle on who we're trying to target, or maybe who we're trying to attract as a new customer into our company fold. But a customer-obsessed firm is customer-led. That means that they are using what they understand about their customers to actually guide and create business decisions. The second characteristic of customer-obsessed firms is that they are insights-driven. They are not just data-rich. Now, this I think will ring true with many of you. I don't have anybody calling me and saying that they just don't have enough data. The problem is not a data quantity problem. The problem is being able to make those data useful to help a company make customer-led decisions. So a company that is insights-driven is a company that is collecting the right data to understand its customers and also allowing critical insights to be easily accessed by folks around the enterprise to be able to make customer-led decisions. The third characteristic of a customer-obsessed firm is that they are fast, they are not perfect. Now, this is the one, especially talking to marketers, that I think gives marketers the most indigestion. Nobody wants to be the person at a company that rolled out a program or a product before it was completely baked. But the notion here is that today, getting everything perfect is not actually fast enough to be customer-led. You know that your customers are making decisions and changing the brands that they do business with very quickly. So this is an idea of being iterative, of rolling things out and testing to understand what your customers value, and then iterating to improve on a program or a product or an initiative in order to stay in front of your customer demand. Then the fourth characteristic of a customer-obsessed firm is that they are connected, they are not siloed. And this, of course, is an organizational challenge. This is about making sure that structurally you are not working in a command and control type of environment, but you're actually working so that peers across your organization are all collectively working to accomplish your customer needs. Now, while this is a formal organizational thing, this can also be something that is more informally managed as well. Think about the ways that you might communicate with your colleagues or some of the process steps that you take. Are there ways for those efforts to be accomplished in a more connected and less siloed way? Now, this notion of customer obsession is tough. And when I talk to companies about becoming customer obsessed, it tends to be the problem is not that they don't like the idea. Nobody doesn't want to be more customer focused. The problem is that they don't know how to get started. So I want to suggest that email can be a terrific starting point to this bigger customer obsessed idea. And in thinking about email in this way, you can actually also improve the performance of your email programs. So why email? Why is email the thing that I've picked to be the wedge into customer obsession? Well, for most organizations, email is already well ingrained. We have been using email for almost 20 years. And we know from our data that 98% of enterprise companies are already using email marketing. So it's a well-established medium. It's also very inexpensive. It tends to be a medium that you can use to test out new things without risking the entire marketing budget. Email is also a very intimate medium and becoming more so as it moves into the mobile sphere. Think about the idea of a direct conversation with your customer that the customer can pick up in a real-time experience in something that they keep in their pocket. This is a very intimate way to connect with your customers and for them to connect with you. Email also tends to be very adjustable and very addressable. You can make changes to your email programs while they're in the middle of being sent. But you can also make changes on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, and you can address very particular content, offers, communication, layout, formats to particular users. So email just tends to be a very flexible medium for trialing new things. If we go ahead and click on to the next slide, my advice for you here as you think about what to do with your email program that might be different is I want you to adopt a hacker mindset. Now, if you're not from the software world or if this is a new term to you, the idea of hacking your email program means that you have the liberty here to think completely differently about how to use the medium. This is a different guideline than how do you improve on what you've already done, or how can you look at what the world is doing out there and try to do the same thing. This is about what if you had no rules, no budget, no starting point, and you were just thinking about if I start from a completely blank slate, what can I make this medium do for me? And I bet that you will think of some things that are outside of just email as a newsletter vehicle or a coupon deployment medium. But what could you do if you had no preconceived notions of what email could do for you and your business? Now, I want to suggest for you a couple of things to get you started. So that blank slate might also be a bit daunting. So let me just suggest a few things to think through. And then Matt is going to offer some guidance from Send With Us about how to make some of these ideas very real. So idea number one is to make email more than just an ad medium. It's funny that this medium has played such a constant role over the course of the last 15 years, that it really has played a promotions vehicle and almost that in isolation. But what if you think about email as more than just an ad medium? And I'll give you just a few examples here if we click on to the next slide. What about email as a vehicle to actually connect your customers across the different platforms where they can interact with you? This is an example from American Express, where as an American Express subscriber, Amex can actually use my email address to identify me as I interact with them through my credit card, through their web platform, and even their mobile device. So in this case, Amex actually looks at the things that I'm charging on my Amex card, recognizes that I'm going overseas, and sends me an email to say, hey, Shar, we understand you're going to be in London at the end of this month. We've automatically noted on your account that this travel profile will be accurate and yours. So you don't have to call us separately and give us an alert that you're going to be traveling overseas and that charges from the UK are accurately yours. So this sort of blends. Suddenly, Amex is using email as a bit of a service tool and certainly as a relationship tool, because the email address is identifying me as a customer that they can use to track my behavior across different platforms. On the next slide, we think about email as a customer profile builder. So this is the idea about using email as a way to better understand your customers so that then you can market to them through a future email or through a future program in any medium. In this case, this is the example of a Dutch hotelier called Hotel Specials that actually uses email over the course of a period of several weeks to identify what users are clicking on. So this is not so much about trying to use email to get me to buy a hotel room. This is about using email to gather the kinds of preferences that I like. And then that information can be used to build a profile that then they customize when I visit the website, when I open an email, in some of their hard copy, direct, traditional media programs. This is about email as a way to better understand the specific customer behavior. And then my last example here is about email as a lab environment. What about email as a way to conduct market research? eBay actually uses email to determine the kinds of products that people associate with each other. And then they use that to adjust the online merchandising of their products on their Pinterest and their homepage. This is a little bit like noting that, when fathers go to the grocery store to buy diapers, they were inclined to also pick up a 6-pack of beer. Same sort of insight, but in this case, coming out of an email program deliberately focused on understanding how people associate certain products together. My next to-do, so the first idea here is to think about making email more than just an ad medium. My second to-do for you here is to develop email as a digital experience. Now, this goes back to the point I made at the beginning of our conversation, that we have very high expectations for media outside of email. We believe that mobile apps should be able to recognize who we are, where we left off in our last interaction with the app. We expect that we should be able to drag and pinch and change the shape of the visuals in an app. So that's what I want you to think about here with email. How can you make email more of a digitally immersive experience? And I'll give you just a few examples as we move through the slides. So my first example is about thinking about adjusting the content of your email. So this is not so much about changing the layout. This is about creating really dynamic content that can adjust based on not just the user's behavioral profile, but maybe my immediate location at the time of open. In this case, Hotel Tonight is actually adjusting the content of their emails based on available inventory when a user opens an email within a certain radius of a given set of hotels. So imagine that this is mapping up the user information, where I am, the kinds of hotels that I like, the past stay behaviors that I've demonstrated, with actual real-time pricing and inventory information, so that I'm actually seeing hotels that are available when I'm driving into New York City. The next thing I want to encourage you to consider adjusting are your email templates. Now, for years, email has been a fairly static medium in that the template itself was finite. It was structured. You could build some fields of content, but those fields had to stay in place. Well, think about how new technologies today are allowing you to do things like more of a swipe-based type of interface with an email, or maybe changing the layout of your messages based on a customer profile. In this example, Mizuno actually has created a custom template where a user can, within the email, design their own baseball glove. Now, what you can't see from this visual is that you can click on the actual baseball glove and change the colors. You can change things from a righty to a left-handed glove. Then also within the email, you can buy it. You can share it, so you could send it to somebody who's maybe getting you a gift for an upcoming birthday or Christmas holiday, or you can share it through social media. Look at the thing that I just designed. So right within the email, Mizuno is creating an interactive component that is part of the template of the message. This is another example of interactivity directly within the email. This comes from a capability called Rebel Mail, and some of you have maybe heard of Rebel and some of the interactivity that they're developing. They're focused right now a lot on commerce-oriented merchants, and they are doing things like embedding a shopping cart functionality directly within the email. Just think about how great this would be for people who sometimes abandon an offer when they have to click from the email into a website to make the purchase. In this case, you can actually purchase directly in the email. Now, Rebel has a couple of other interactive capabilities as well, including things like collecting feedback on a purchase or asking for input into product development directly in the email as well. Then the next couple of examples are about thinking about using email to create interactive and immersive experiences. This is an example from Dunkin' Donuts, but I've seen many brands doing something similar, where the email is a point that communicates all of the different experiences that perhaps I've had with a brand over a year or over a month or over a dedicated period of time. In this example, Dunkin' is pulling in all of my loyalty club information. So every time I use my loyalty card to record a purchase, every time I come into a store, every time I visit the website, every time I order through the app, it's collecting all of that information and communicating it back to me in a year in review. Just think about how many cups of coffee you've had, how many times you clicked into the app, how many coupons you've redeemed, and making me feel quite good about the loyal relationship that I have with this brand. Now, I've got another couple of examples here that are looking at this notion of creating really immersive experiences as well. This is an example from Wayfair, where when you open an email in your using your mobile phone, you can actually engage your phone's camera capability to place a product that might be pitched in the email into the room where you might want to consider that product. So in this case, they're showing me this great sofa. I can actually look at how that sofa will look in my apartment. What will it look like if I change color? What will it look like if I rotate the sofa or if I put it at a different angle against my wall? This is all within the capability of the Wayfair email itself. Now, my final recommendation for you here is about thinking about how to treat your email team as a more strategic resource. So my first two challenges for you were to think about using email as more than just an ad medium. The next one is to think about how to create a digital experience with your email. This is about how to manage your team in a way that inspires them to be innovative, in a way that rewards them for thinking about using email as more than just a coupon vehicle. Our research shows that the more tenured, the more veteran folks are on an email team, the better performing email programs are. Now, the challenge for most marketers is that email teams tend to be quite junior. You know this very well. They are the entry point for a lot of folks when they are first out of school or maybe with a couple of years of work experience. And as soon as they become really good at their email programs, they graduate into another part of the marketing team. So I want to just give you a few examples of companies that are treating email team tenure in a different way and giving you some ideas about how to sustain the curiosity of folks, even on a medium like email. So PicMonkey, which is a photo sharing capability, actually deliberately seats employees next to people from different business functions. So this is the idea of maybe I will get inspiration to think differently if I'm seated next to folks that are working on different problems than I am every day. And maybe I will think about a different way to solve a problem because of the things that they are talking about and communicating and working on. Starbucks actually uses something they call TLAs, time limited assignments. This is a reward capability for people who earn their way into it, but it's also an exceptional educational opportunity for employees as well. The idea is they actually rotate people through different departments. So imagine that for a 6 to 12 month tenure, you would be moving into a different team. And then you would rotate back into your team after your tour with that group is done. The idea is to feed your curiosity, help you get informed about how other parts of the business are working, but also help you then come back to your team and say, hey, I understand now why the product team does things in this way. Maybe that will change how we think about email or how we think about the campaigns we're running. And then MasterCard and Mars do a reverse mentoring program. Their senior level execs are paired with young staff so that the executives certainly can mentor that young staff and give them inspiration and motivation to help them graduate through the company productively. But the young staff is also helping the executives get more familiar with how young people work. What are some of the tools and modes of communication that certainly their young customers care about, but also their young employees care about, so that they can manage development of staff in a productive way. So let me just conclude with a data point here. We know that 26% of business executives expect that they will be more productive over time if they just continue business as usual. So said a different way, 74% of executives believe that they have to change their current practices in order for their companies to become more productive. And I actually think email can be a great place to start. So if you flip on to the next slide, this is my challenge for you. It's time to work differently. Just maintaining your status quo, maintaining the same way you've thought about your business and your email programs isn't going to help your business grow and be more productive. It's time to work differently. And I believe that email is a great place to start. So thank you so much for your time and attention. And at this point, I'm going to turn the conversation over to Matt, who's going to take us through some of the real world ways that Send With Us can help you pull off some of these email hacks that I introduced.
Thanks, Shar. Thanks so much. That was awesome. I'm a really big fan of the idea that Shar put forth in turning email into more than an ad medium and really kind of trying to build real digital experiences within email. And I think transactional email can play a really huge part of that. And in actuality, many of the examples Shar pointed out were examples of transactional emails that were being leveraged. Focusing on that, let's just start with establishing a baseline of what are transactional emails. So you might also know these as triggered emails, automated or system generated. At the end of the day, these are one-to-one emails that are sent based on customer actions. When someone creates an account with you or completes a purchase or maybe send an invite to their friend to your service, these are all the different transactional emails that you might be sending today to customers. And they're amazing because they're part of your ongoing customer experience as they engage and work with your product. So why are transactional emails so important? Well, as part of your ongoing customer experience, they see incredible engagement. And this kind of makes sense that, if I buy something, I'm going to go look at the receipt email, or I'm going to go look at the order tracking email you send me. Or if I create an account, I want to open up the welcome email to click through to confirm my account or something else. So transactional emails see as much as 60% higher open rates and 164% higher click-through rates. They also generate a lot of money for companies, a lot of revenue based on when those transactional emails fall in the overall purchase cycle and customer cycle. So these are amazing emails that your customers are engaging with a lot, and they're hugely important to the overall customer experience, and they build loyalty, and they drive your customers to be better customers. So what I want to put forth is that Shar's idea of becoming customer obsessed and doing more with email, transactional emails are actually a really amazing place to start. And one of the main reasons they're a great place to start is that many companies do a really bad job with their transactional emails today. Because these are tied to your product or your e-commerce store, these are often emails that are not owned by a marketer. They're owned by a developer or another system. And this means that everyone in marketing who is customer obsessed and wants these to be really amazing experiences isn't able to own them and make them a really great experience. When you think of the 4 customer obsessed principles being customer led, insights driven, fast, and connected, these transactional emails are actually the best place to bring those principles to life and to bear. The transactional emails are sent to a customer directly based on them doing an action. So it's 100% customer-led email that you're sending out. And because these emails are constantly going out every day, if you have control over, for example, your purchase receipt, if you're able to make changes to that quickly as a marketer and deploy them quickly, you can make a change and 10 minutes later get data back on how did that change perform. If you change the subject line of your purchase receipt and add something like thank you into the text, you can immediately see within minutes what kind of impact that change is having. And this lets you create an incredibly fast feedback cycle on what these changes are doing. We've seen examples with customers where they test messaging changes in their transactional email, and then learning from that messaging change, they go back and they can change their website, brand copy, ad copy, and all these other places. But they use the transactional email as the place to quickly and efficiently test messaging and see what's going to resonate with a customer. So I think the argument I'm trying to make is that these transactional emails need to be a marketer-owned customer communication. They're incredibly important to the overall bottom line of your business and building your customer experience. And they need to be in the hands of your marketing team as you try to build a customer-obsessed organization. So I'm going to go in and show you how to do that, what's needed, and then a couple of examples of really great transactional emails that embody some of the customer-obsessed principles that Shar put forth. So the primary thing you need to do here is there needs to be an organizational change where you get the transactional emails in the hands of your marketing team. This usually means getting them outside of the code base somehow into either your ESP or another system that lets someone else change and manage this content. Now we come from a background of providing a platform specifically to manage email content across the board, whether that's your campaign and marketing emails and including your transactional emails as well. And we definitely see customers seeing the most success when they're putting all email together in one. But at the end of the day, what matters is getting those transactional emails to a place where you can have a standardized testing, approval, and publish workflow, no matter what platform you're using for it. There's 2 examples I want to call here of really great transactional emails that are just embody some great principles. On the left is an email from an online underwear brand called MeUndies. And what I wanted to call out was the customer experience it builds. So this, I think, is a pretty unique receipt email thanking a customer for an order because of 2 things. The first is the hero image here, which embodies the spirit of the brand, which is like a super fun underwear brand, and just thanking the customer for the order. And then below that is like the full text email, which kind of like looks like someone has written this out and sent it to you, being like, hey, thanks for your order. We're confirming it. All the details that you might care less about are below. And just establishing some precedent for the customer experience that as soon as it ships, we're going to send you your order tracking email. And so this to me, I just love how they take the brand and everything else that's great about MeUndies and the customer experience, and they embed it into the email. With a different company, this order receipt could be completely plain text and could not be a great customer experience. And the importance that their team has placed on this email really shows. As a customer engaging with MeUndies, I feel like I have a consistent experience from going to their website, making the purchase, and then receiving this email. On the right is an email from a company called Crisp. And this is a password reset email, which is an email that every company sends, but I don't think I've ever seen a password reset email as good as this. And the reason why is it actually includes a cross sell, but it's not a revenue generating cross sell at all. So you can see at the top of this email is very standard for password reset. Smiles Davis, recover your password. The big call to action, recover your password. Below that is the tired of forgetting your password. And so what they're saying is, hey, you click the forgot password button, maybe you should try using a password manager. And here's 3 password managers that are really great. It's 1Password, Dashlane, and LastPass. And these aren't affiliate links. They don't make any revenue for their customers clicking through on these links. But what they do is build a really great customer experience. They build some equity with those customers of being like, wow, Crisp, this is a company that actually cares about me and is making this really great and amazing recommendation. And I just think this is such a smart and unique example of how to better make use of a forgotten password email. So I wanted to call it out as this is really great. Now, Chris could do other things in this email as well, and call it other things in the forgotten password. Forgotten password emails are really great opportunities that most people don't leverage. And I think that's one of the great things about transactional email as a whole is, as a marketing team, as an organization, you need to, Shar pointed out, you need to do something different. You can't maintain the status quo. But sending more marketing emails to your customers probably isn't the right answer, because that's what your competitors and every other company that is emailing your customer is going to do as well. So the solution I would put forward isn't to send more marketing emails. It's to make the emails you're sending now a lot better, and then leverage other emails you're sending already, like transactional emails that aren't currently within the marketing fold. If you can reduce the number of campaign emails you're sending, spend more effort on making those campaign emails a better experience through better personalization, better recommendations, anything, as well as leverage your transactional emails and use them to drive cross-sells or upsells or something else, you're going to drive more revenue overall, and you're going to have a better customer experience than if you were to just email your customers more with more campaign emails. That's something we at Some of Us really believe in, and we see a lot of our customers have success with. So with that, I'd like to open it up for questions. I think our moderators have been filtering through the questions that have been going, so I'll invite them to join in and let us know what you all want to know.
Great. Thanks, Matt and Shar. We're going to answer some of the questions that have come in now, and I'll simply moderate. I've got a few questions right here, so we'll get going. Transactional emails don't typically follow under marketing's responsibility. How would you suggest marketers make a case for having more input? Shar, why don't you start us off with that one, and Matt, then you can also answer it, please.
Well, I'm going to give you a very high-level answer, which gets into a whole other stream of research that I lead at Forrester around the future of the marketing function. And in that research, we have said that the marketing function should be about solving customer problems. Now, I know that sounds like a very customer service-oriented responsibility, but think about how in the future, maybe not even in the future, in now and going into the future, you have extremely entitled customers who are very disloyal. They are very willing to go where they get what they want. And so marketing isn't about hawking product. It's not about pitching things. It's about getting me what I need better than what anyone else can do. And so the marketing function becomes a function that's focused on being human, being helpful, and being handy. And it works with all of the other parts of the way a company can demonstrate those characteristics. So my notion is that marketing should be overseeing transactional emails. And the challenge is not how do we get to be included in the team that does transactional messages. It's how do we elevate marketing to a role where you are defining the brand promise and then helping the company figure out how to demonstrate that brand promise everywhere so that you are not just saying we stand for something, but you are actually living what you stand for, and you are demonstrating that brand promise in a way that's solving customer problems in the product team, in the service team, in the sales organization, in the HR team, in the finance team. Like, all of that stuff is managed in a way that is effectively demonstrating the brand promise.
Yeah, I'll just echo what Shar's saying there is to truly be a customer obsessed company, which is an entire organizational change and has to be led from the executives down. It would naturally follow that marketing would have a say in transactional email because it's a core part of the customer experience overall, which is, I think, really great, but also it's an aspirational challenge for many marketers. It's a very siloed problem today in that most marketers only have control of their, direct control over their campaign emails that are in front of them today. And I think the number one thing we see in companies or marketers being successful in trying to bridge this gap is by bringing the technology team to the table and ensuring that their needs and their concerns about the customer experience are part of the conversation. Because the engineering and technology teams care about the customer a lot as well. But they place different emphasis and different focus on it. So bringing them to the conversation, ensuring that their needs are going to be satisfied, is a good way for marketers to get transactional emails into a less siloed position.
Let's see. The next question that came in says, when you say get these emails out of the base code, isn't it quite a bit more complicated than that? Matt, why don't you answer that for us?
Sure thing. That is a gross simplification, absolutely. At the end of the day, what that really means is your product will have an email template in the source code that your engineers at some point have built. Well, things are incredibly interconnected when they're at that point. There are logical ways to pull that out and host that email template in your ESP or in another platform. And that's kind of like the core thing that we're talking about when we mean to give a marketer control. The marketer needs to be able to control the complete look and feel of every aspect of that email in a content management platform or in an ESP. And that's what we're talking about when we say get that out of the code. We're not saying change how the email is being sent. It still has to be your product, your website. When someone makes a purchase, it has to trigger sending the receipt email. We're just arguing for the template, the look and feel, and the content to be pulled out.
Thanks, Matt. Here's a great question that came in for both of you, actually. And Shar, we'll start with you. The question runs, overhauling our email program sounds great in theory, but it isn't something that will happen overnight. Can you suggest 2 or 3 quick wins to get us started in the right direction? Shar, what do you suggest?
Yeah, so good question. And I will say that most of the things that I presented are things that are available today without a huge amount of reinvention or even turning over the cast of vendors that you're working with. So if you just start thinking about doing something like dynamic content or open time personalization, that could be something that from an initial starting point can get you started. So, I went bold with my Hack Your Email program, and I think that's very worth doing because otherwise no real change happens. But you can hack while also learning about some new trials. So think a little bit about open time personalization would just be things like creating conditional content that changes based on the circumstances at the time of open. And that could be location. So when I'm in a certain area, I get snow boots instead of flip-flops. It could also be device of open. So I get a lighter weight email with fewer pictures when I'm opening things on my mobile phone. And I get something that's a little bit richer with more content when I'm opening on my desktop. It could also be something that's based on environmental circumstance, like it's raining where I am today. So when I open the email, I have some sort of adjustment that's based on the fact that it's raining or the temperature is cold, things like that. So that might be a good place to start. I think some other forms of contextual content could be things that are based on inventory information that you have. So what if you do something like, we know that you have an interest in this product and they just went on sale. So we're going to send you an email that is triggered not based on anything that the user happened into, but based on the fact that you know the product just went on sale. So that type of response can be an easy place to get started too, because you already have that data. You already know what product is in stock or when it's out of stock or when it goes on sale or when it's been shipped. You know, all of those kinds of information can be exceptional triggers and baby steps toward thinking through some of these more advanced options.
I think those are some really great suggestions. There's two things that we often see as low-hanging fruit as well. Specific to the transactional email, there's a notion we talk about of a dead-end email. And this is often a transactional email, like a purchase receipts can fall into this category, or sometimes some kind of confirmation email. And it's an email that you're sending to customers based on an action or a trigger that happens. You might view it as purely informational or just a notification. And so the email doesn't contain any call to action. And so therefore it becomes like a complete dead end in the customer experience. And so without completely overhauling your entire email program, you can evaluate, do we have any of these dead end emails we're sending today? And then it's a very easy opportunity to say, at the very least, well, let's add a button to click through and go back to the customer's dashboard, to your main website, or to like their profile or something like that. And automatically by doing that, you're adding a logical step that percentage of customers likely are going to start clicking through and coming back to the site and re-engaging in some way. And I think that's like a very easy opportunity that's very low effort. You don't have to do a lot of customization or personalization, and overall creates a better customer experience, because if you're notifying a customer about something, you likely want them to come back at some point and take a look at your app or site. So the dead end email is something I definitely recommend looking at. Something else that we see a lot of customers wanting to do, if you have any kind of loyalty program or rewards program or anything like that, through that loyalty program, you have a lot of information and data about a customer, about their preferences, about points or dollars they've saved up. And then there's opportunities through that loyalty program for them to leverage those dollars. But many companies struggle to actually surface that loyalty information in all the different emails they're sending, whether this is a campaign email or a transactional email. So a low effort thing that you can do to potentially create a better experience or get a little bit better engagement in your emails is start trying to surface the loyalty information that you have about a customer within any of the emails you're sending today. And this kind of takes two things. The first step would be to at least surface, if you are a certain tier of customer on the loyalty program, just surface that within the email, with any email you're sending to the customer, acknowledging their tier and calling action at least to the number of points they have or something else. And this makes a better customer experience by default, because you're now acknowledging the relationship the customer has with you and that they're building with you. Like it's a loyalty program. They're loyal to you if they're a member of it. You should at least call that out. And that's incredibly low effort to start including that information. Going a step further is starting to pull in, what does that loyalty program, what is their current membership status? What can they actually access through that? And this is any email you're sending, even a forgotten password email. You can say, forgot your password, that's okay. Click here to reset it. And then, hey, like you are a gold member. Here's things you can access to. Here's exclusive things just for you that you can access today because you're a gold member. And that can all be in a forgotten password email, or that can also be in a campaign email. So I think surfacing loyal information, calling out how loyal a customer is to you in all the different emails you're sending is very low effort, and you can ramp it up with more complexity as you see fit. That's my recommendations.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Shar. Well, we're coming up on the top of the hour, and I think we should wrap it up. I want to thank Matt and Shar for presenting today and answering the questions. It was great content. And thanks, Matt. Thanks, Shar.
Thanks, Megan, for hosting. Thanks, Shar, for coming on today. I do want to include a short shameless plug for Dispatch.io, which is our platform, which is a content management system specifically for email templates that helps you as a marketer own your email, use templates, reusable content, so you're not rebuilding things each time, and then interface with your technology team or your ESP, however you're sending email today. Thank you for your time today, everyone.
Thanks all.